Hey guys, welcome to Project Metal Music's YouTube channel with your host El Young, and we are here with Stuart and Ian from Playdead. Welcome, guys.
Hello, Al.
Yeah. So, could you introduce yourselves and what you do within the band?
I'm Stu. I am the frontman, the singer, songwriter, semi-musician, more of a magician than a musician, really. In Playdead. Ian?
My name's Ian, and I play bass, and that's about it.
So, let's dive into some questions. As a kid, what were you listening to?
When I was a kid, the first band that I really remember getting into was probably Oasis. When I was probably when I was around about 10 or 11. It was around the mid-90s, so if you were around then, you probably know that Oasis were pretty huge then. So it's kind of like you kind of get surrounded in that whole Britpop kind of thing. So they were the first band that I really got into.
I managed to miss that bus,
Thankfully.
When I was a real little kid, my earliest memories of music was David Bowie. That is all that my mum would listen to at home. So it was Bowie was on pretty much 24/7. From that, as a kid, I didn't really discover my musical identity until being a teenager. But I do always remember enjoying music. So I went from Bowie, and then as a tiny child, I remember watching The Labyrinth and being blown away by that and enjoying the music on Labyrinth. I mean, who doesn't like the Labyrinth soundtrack? And this might explain a few things, but the next musical or the next bit of music I remember enjoying was when, at probably a very inappropriate age, I ended up watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And to this day, that's...
Is that a pig?
Yeah. I definitely... I might have been 5 or 6 when I watched it, and that blew me away, and I enjoyed all the music on there. But then in the sort of pre-teens, 10, 11, 12, I just listened to what everybody else listened to with working or with. It was merch. It was rave.
Yeah, when I was in rave, I went to a rave there.
I had all the cassettes and like the New Monkey and the After Dark and all that.
You go to the New Monkey.
So unfortunately, I listened to all that rubbish, and I didn't. In fairness, I didn't really enjoy it. So at that age, you listen to what you think you're supposed to listen to. But
yeah, I mean, when I was that age as well, I mean, as I said before, I mean, Oasis was pretty big into the mainstream, so I think they listened to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
At least around the people that I hung around with, that was the thing that everybody listened to. Britpop.
It was when I was about 12, I think, when I first heard Korn. Like friends played the first Korn album, and I'd never heard anything like it before. I was blown away, and that's what started my love of music, and getting a music like that and I love with metal. Yeah, as a kid, that's where it started. That was the genesis of my musical identity, the rock stuff of my musical identity. Yeah, David Bowie, Labyrinth, Rocky Horror, Rage, and then heavy metal. That's quite aggressive native music, really.
That's a typical path for most.
But yeah, still love Bowie, still love Rocky Horror, still love Labyrinth,
still love Rage.
Yeah. So who basically got you into music? Was it a family member or a friend or an acquaintance?
For me, it was probably my brother. He's about 5 years older than me, so kind of isn't a lot of the stuff he listened to, which was before Oasis and shit like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty much it for me.
I can't really attribute it to a person. I just always that all those over the top things that I suppose I listened to as a kid, that I just wanted to be part of it. It just seemed the natural thing to do. Was you enjoy music so much, try and make some. There's no that I'm aware of, no other musicians in my family. No one friend went, here's a guitar to do, crack on and make some metal. I just fell in love with the spectacle and the idea of rock music and all the excitement that comes with it, all the larger than life stuff. And I used to be I still am a bit of a geek and a nerd, but I was very, very geeky and nerdy. Yeah. And the music was inspirational, and it inspired me. And I thought, I want to do that I want to do it myself. So I guess who got me into music? Probably me. All right, it was you.
Yeah. So this sort of like leads on to like this the next question. Who inspired you to become a musician? Was it like a certain genre, or a musician, or like guitarist, or whoever? Was it who was your inspiration to become a musician?
There's just this like opulence and glamour around being a musician, and you become like a larger than life character. And it was that. There wasn't any one person per se, but every musician's story, or most, often have humble beginnings, and it just shows what writing a good song or having an idea, what it can achieve through something as pure and as magical as what music is. And so there's so many great people that I could name a list of icons, of rock stars, of performers, and there's so many different elements of each one that makes them more special. It was just a collective thing. It was all of it, really, for me.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about a specific musician, I mean, I'm not really much of a bass player, although I do play bass in Playdead. I'm more of a drummer. It would be probably his, I mean, Tony McCarroll, who was the original, I'm going to say Oasis again. I'm not even a Oasis super fan or anything, but he was the original drummer from Oasis, Tony McCarroll. And I mean, it was just, the beats are dead simple, and it's really simple music to kind of get into. So it was the perfect kind of music to get into as a beginner kind of thing, because it's easy to pick. So yeah, I mean, that would be Tony McCarroll. Word to your boy.
Cool. So, were you in any bands before Playdead?
No. That's the short answer.
I'll tell you what, I'll get my answer out of the way, because my answer's quick.
Actually, it is a yes, because we had a half band.
Yeah, we can't talk about that on live. Yeah, I've been in a couple of bands. A band when I was in school called Exist, which were a kind of indie rock band, and then I was in a band after that called Underwings, which were kind of a hard rock, kind of grungy metal band. I played drums both of them. This is all quite a long time ago. Underwings ended probably in 2008-9. So it's a good long while ago, but they were the last two bands I was in.
Playdead's the only band I've been in, but this started about 20 years ago when I was at school. Some of the songs, which I understand we're going to talk about a bit later on, some of the lyrics were wrote for them when I was 13 years old, and at school age, with a couple of other mates my age, we formed a band which ultimately became the first incarnation of Playdead. When I was 15, 16, 17, we went for, and we had a number of different lineups, and being teenagers, it didn't really go anywhere. It all fell apart. And when we picked this back up maybe 3-4 years ago with Roy, who can't be here today for the interview, we went through a number of different names. and none of them sounded as cool as what Playdead did. Because with the blessing of the previous members, we've reused a couple of riffs and lyrics and even song titles from stuff that we knocked up when we were 13, 14, 15. It stuck. So technically, I've only ever been in Playdead for 20 years.
So, what has the band been up to, especially in this last couple of years?
Um,
The last couple of years have probably been. Well, I've only joined the band within the last 6 or 7 months, but over the last couple of years, has probably been one of the most sort of active times for the band, really, in terms of songwriting and things like that. The first album came out in 2018, was it?
2019?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a few years longer than I thought.
When we went into lockdown, we had a different lineup. We had 2 guitarists, bassists, live drums. We still had synth, live vocals. The sound was still the same, but the lineup was totally different. And we all got very excited. Oh, great! We're working from home. There's a lockdown.
Yeah.
To be super creative, and like I'm sure many creative people did when lockdown begun, went in with all these ideas and excitement about what they can create with all the time and being locked up to do it. And we went in with a lot of energy and ultimately produced next to nothing. We went into a hiatus for about a year. And then as lockdown started to come out, we sort of put things back up, and people got in touch with us for gigs and such. And that was the kick in the arse that we needed. And we finished off the second album, which you've had the opportunity to have a listen to. And I managed to pick up with Ian because I've only been trying to get him in a band for 20 years, and I finally convinced him. Losing members now, and then getting Ian on board, and then we're on the cusp of releasing album number 2. But just looking for gigs, a lot of band practice. We're pretty good
just
now.
Usual band kind of shit. I mean, we practice writing. Basically,
we've got ideas for album 3 already in the bag.
Yeah, we
didn't even release album 2 before.
But we've behind the scenes, we've got more material to come. So.
We want to. We try and remember that being in a band, the world's a small place now. You can put something online, and it can be seen in every corner of the planet. So, which we're having lots of conversations and brainstorming other ways that we can get our music out there. So we've got a couple of music video projects in the pipeline. So that's other stuff that we're really excited about, because you can do stuff in music videos like you can't do live. So and they can be enjoyed anywhere. You don't have to come out and see us do that. So that's another exciting thing that we've just revealed to you.
You heard it here first.
I've got a question from Sebastian, who is in South Africa, and he says, when it comes up, what would you like to achieve in the next few years?
Wow, the ultimate goal is rock stardom, isn't it? that would be the dream.
I mean, if we get signed and going on tour, and that would be awesome.
Isn't that why you started the band? One of the reasons, anyway.
One of the reasons, yeah.
That would be the ultimate dream. But other than that, I just want people to get something from the music. There's a lot of thought goes into it. Anybody who's creative and made music or whatever else will understand that. You can spend an inordinate amount of time just refining everything and making sure that it's perfect. And for me, the ultimate enjoyment is that people enjoy it, and it'll be even better if people can get something from it, or it helps them in some way. Because we do sing about stuff, and we make music about things that might be quite, on the surface, look like dark subjects, things that are quite taboo, stuff that you wouldn't normally associate music being with. But I think that helps people, and I think if you can talk about these darker things, it takes away the power of those dark things, and it makes them not so scary, and it means that you can you can conquer them, and you can get over them. So yeah, that for me, a more serious answer would be just to get heard and to help people.
Yeah. So let's dive into as I've got as we were talking off before we went live and on Facebook. I'm going to be talking about the first album that came out a few years back. There's a few songs from that, a few songs that I wanted to sort of like touch upon. Is the first one is the thy flesh consumed. Could you tell us about the story behind that?
Yeah, the interesting that you picked that song, because the title of that song is sort of the genesis of this whole iteration of the band. Roy, who the chap who's not with us today for this interview, who I composed the first album with, we'd previously worked on a couple of other different projects. We'd done some film stuff. We'd wrote a book together as well. But I had a script for a film, which was essentially a rehash of the Evil Dead, with people from the northeast of England, with a minute micro budget, but this really ridiculously ambitious script. And we tried to get this project out of pre-production hell for nigh on 2 years, and it just never happened. We filmed a couple of scenes, and then it was dead and buried, and we moved on to different projects. But during the course of those 2 years, me and Roy had worked very closely together, composing the music for the film. And the film title was "Thy Flesh Consumed," and it was a bit of a. It's obviously got it's biblical origins in Proverbs from the Bible. But the other cool bit that we liked it from, we pulled it from pop culture, is it's one of the episodes in the video game Doom. And any historian of video game music will know that the first Doom game, even though it was all midis and sequenced, it was all just almost direct rip-offs of heavy metal songs of the era. And then subsequently the next Doom game came out, and the music on that was fantastic. So it was the title came from a film which was a homage to the Doom video games. But the meaning of the song, and in the broad sense, is a question whether or not there is a deity. I'm very much an atheist. The song has got lots of parallels about that. The chorus is that there's no one here looking down on you, up to me. And a lot of the song can be taken both ways, or several ways. Because I think a good song, you can find your own meaning in it. But ultimately the question, well, is the person singing the song, are they saying that they're above you looking down on you? Or is there nobody up there and I'm looking down on you? So that and we just it sounded cool.
Wait, speaking of Roy.
Hi, Roy.
Hi, Roy.
Roy's here. So the next song is "Despise Humanity." Now, when I was listening to the album, this one's got a bit more guitar work and a bit more, especially, and a bit more aggressive in the lyrics. Could you tell us about that?
This was one of the songs that was brought in the original Playdead when I was 15, and that probably shows in simplicity of the riff that's there. And it's very likely why it is so angsty and aggressive, because there's nothing like an angry little emo-y 15-year-old writing music. So I'm been in two minds or not whether to keep the title "Despise Humanity," but the meaning behind the song is it's an anthem against all the stupid people who are in positions that they really shouldn't be holding.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not to name any names, but there are certainly people in our recent history and even now who are doing stupid things that they shouldn't be doing. So it's sort of a glam rock middle finger to them, an anthem to say to people, we know that you're an idiot, and we know that you know that you're an idiot. Stop being an idiot and fuck off, please. I know that people have different opinions. I don't want to get into a political debate or anything like that. But you can pick which side you want to be on, and that song can apply either way. And it doesn't have to be about politicians. It can be about somebody you just don't like at work or whatever.
Yeah.
Many layers.
It is. Well, I like to think a lot of our songs have many layers, and there's no right or wrong way to interpret them because they can mean whatever you want them to mean, despite what my intent might be.
You have to peel the onion.
Yeah, and you're allowed to enjoy it on whatever level that you want to enjoy it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's our most glam song, and we like to think on the first album, every song has its own
identity.
Yeah, and each one, although they've all got the Playdead DNA in them, each one is of its own genre almost, and I think that comes across when you listen to it.
Yeah, yeah. The next one, and well, this one is it's this one is sort of like a two-part question because I'll be asking that this sort of like this the second part of the question to later on in the next part for the second album. Porno Baby. What's that about?
It's essentially about obsession, and how unhealthy it is. The song is a complete perverted fantasy. It's not supposed to be taken in any literal sense, but it's also about people's obsession with standards of beauty as well. So there's a lot of descriptions going in there. And we live vicariously through other people online. And what I'm trying to put across with some of the elements of Porno Baby is, and we touch on this with songs on the second album a little bit more, is it's not real. Everything that you see on the internet is always going to be somebody's best side. People often don't present the worst of them online. And if we judge others by artificial standards, then it's a slippery slope, and it's standards that you'll never genuinely be able to obtain. But yeah, Porno Baby is it's supposed to be a sexy song for one, and yeah, it's okay to it's healthy to have crushes on people and you know and to have those sort of feelings, but it's not real. And that's kind of part of what Porno Baby is about. I don't want to take away too much magic because, like Ian said, these songs have layers, and there's no right or wrong way for one to interpret them.
Yeah.
When Roy said
the next one
for Porno Baby, I thought he was joking, but when I heard it, the synth bits and everything he together for it, I thought it was brilliant. So, and that one tends to go down really well live, so we'll stay in the set.
Yeah. The next one, and this next song is the first song that I actually heard by Playdead, and the song is "Suicide Rock and Roll." So, could you tell us about that song?
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, some of the lyrics and some of the songs that were on the first album, the genesis of them was when I was 13, 14, 15. And you'll likely remember this. I was at school age. I was 13 years old when the Columbine massacre happened in America.
Yeah, I remember that well.
Yeah. So at school, I had long hair, no beard. I had long hair, wore a little bit of makeup, eyeliner, big the New Rock boots. I was the only goth at school. So if you were there at the time, you'll remember how the media scapegoated that goth look. And when I was at school, because I was a goth, the consensus was that I had a death list of people that I was going to murder, and on a given date, I was going to come into school and execute everybody with all these imaginary guns that I had. And the consensus was that rock music was evil and it was satanic, and we all wanted to murder people, and that was what all the songs were about. They were just about killing and devil worshipping and all the stupid satanic panic rubbish. Which of course we know better. We know that it's not. But I thought, okay, well, let's write that song. If they want it, they can have it. That's what Suicide Rock and Roll was about. It was just a hit list of possibly everything that I could put together that would have some rhyme or reason to it, as a target for the death list. And it's absolutely satirical. It's not supposed to be taken literally, but it is a case of, well, you've asked for it, so there's your song. There's your song that you thought we all listened to. The lyrics have been refined a little bit now that I'm older and I've got a slightly bigger vocabulary than I did at 13. But part and parcel, it's there or thereabouts. And again, just like Despise Humanity, it is one of those angsty, angry teenager songs, and it's our punk song. It's fast, it's heavy, it's loud, it's sloppy live. It's brilliant.
Live.
And 20 years of smoking, which I've now quit. My lungs can't quite keep up with it, but we always try, and I always feel like I'm going to die by the time we finish the song. Yeah, that's actually
Stuart does usually end up dead on the floor.
Usually
at the end of that song.
Yeah. So the next song I want to talk about is the song "Nothing." What's that about?
It's very much a post breakup song. Nothing. It's an awful song. It's I'm sure we've all been there. We've all had relationships that have fallen apart, and it can be tough. And you go through the 5 stages of grief, the 5 stages of change, and ultimately nothing is getting to that final stage, getting to acceptance. Again, I don't want to take too much magic away from what other people might interpret from the song, but it is a light at the end of the tunnel sort of song, and I think the lyrics reflect that, and I think the song has got a very that's the atmosphere that the song puts across. It is quite a cold song, but I do think it crescendos up and it escalates to a positive when it ends. I mean, is that how you feel about it? Because we've played it live at
Nothing.
we played it at
Nothing.
Yeah.
Did we?
We did.
Oh,
we used to always play. We have definitely played it.
Yeah. I would echo those points, those views. I would say, yeah.
I remember when I was writing it, I was definitely channeling an inner Trent Reznor. It's got that sort of mid 2010s, early 2000s 9 Inch Nails undertone to it in my book. Yeah.
Speaking of 9 Inch Nails, I'm going to be touching on a little bit about 9 Inch Nails later on, because I've listened to both albums, and basically they do have that 9 Inch Nails sound, especially from the I would say from the mid 90s onwards type of thing.
Yeah, we would definitely take that as a compliment.
Yeah, there's no denying 9 Inch Nails have been and will continue to be a huge influence. I very much like 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah. The next song on the first album is let me see, Redacted. Is there any reason for an instrumental, for doing an instrumental?
Yeah, when me and Roy were working on the first album, Redacted was one of the songs that made it from the idea list into the right. This is going on the album. let's refine it, let's write some lyrics to it, let's turn this into a song. And there was lyrics for it. And the first album, as angsty as it is sort of a breakup album, in part. And the lyrics were about that, and the lyrics came from an email that I had from a previous partner, or some of them, and I put them down and I've turned them into a song. And then I thought, I don't like that. I'm gonna redact it. And I went, that's perfect. It will leave it as an instrumental. So there is lyrics. I know what they are, but nobody else will ever see them. And we like it like that. And we thought it fit. But yeah, thanks for asking. The reason it's called Redacted is that I redacted the lyrics because they were just for me.
Yeah.
Did you know?
No.
There you
That's
go.
a very good reason.
Yeah. The last song that I've chosen from the first album, I want to know a little bit about, is the song "Apocalypse Now." Now, is that something to do with the actual film from the 19? I think was it the late 70s, early 80s? The film.
The
About
film
yeah.
and the book and Heart of Darkness. I'm sure Roy will jump in the chat here and correct me if I present anything wrong here. But this song was ultimately one of Roy's projects, and Roy's grandfather was a machine gunner in World War One, and the song, as Roy was composing it and working on the lyrics, it started out as a song about his grandfather. Obviously, I can't believe I'm saying it because we're practically at war at the moment, but war's a horrible thing. And when writing the song, it became too personal for Roy, and that's when the switch from sort of writing about his relative in a real life war made the switch to let's base the song on Heart of Darkness, on Apocalypse Now, and give it that sort of fictional element to make it easier to make the song about and ultimately to perform. But yeah, it's in part based on Roy's grandfather's experiences as a machine gunner in the war, and then of course it is inspired by the book Heart of Darkness and the film Apocalypse Now. And that was the question. So yeah, that's it. That's where that song where that song came from. And it's, to my surprise, it goes down really well live, and I like playing it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, like I said, as I said before, like I've listened to both albums, and like I said, the overall sound of both albums, so I've got like the Nine Inch Nails type of vibe to it. And she said that Nine Inch Nails has been a big influence on the band as a whole. But I've also asked. It's also I could hear a little bit of a Marilyn Manson in there as well, especially with some of the vocals on especially the vocal style of both albums. Would you sort of like agree with that, or
it's the influence is undeniable. I'm a huge Marilyn Manson fan, a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. Those are two of my favorite artists, along with David Bowie, Gary Newman, all these big rock stars. Yeah, and those artists will continue to be an inspiration. And if we can emulate them in any small part, then that's fine by me. I've had that comparison before. I've also had Jonathan Davies from Corn, which I can't hear, but I've had it on a couple of occasions.
I can hear that a little bit.
So yeah, I think that is absolutely fair to say, and it's undeniable, and it's true. Yeah.
Royce said about Apocalypse Now. He says the guitar opening is the machine gun. So
I can hear that.
yeah. Thanks, Roy.
Another exclusive.
Yeah. So now the second album, it's Subliminal Messages. God, I can't speak. It's been a long day. It's been a long day for me. Subliminal Messages.
I think I wrote that.
So
Bastard. no change there for Stuart. No.
So in before we dive into like the actual some of the songs that I picked out to actually talk about, could you tell us a little bit about the album, the second album?
Yeah. We sort of officially started writing the second album not too long before lockdown, and Subliminal Messages wasn't the original title for the album. The title got changed at the 11th hour, but when we went into writing it, we had those themes and elements that I wanted to explore, and because we were going into lockdown, lots of people were being very vocal about having the freedoms and the rights taken away. And I'm looking back on it, it's silly. People were protesting that they couldn't get a haircut, or that they didn't have to wear a mask or whatever else. So a lot of the ideas when we began the album was about manipulation and control, and what freedoms you were afforded, and what was right and what was wrong. Those societal norms were sort of elements that we wanted to look at and question. But that changed as the album progressed. Some of the elements stayed because those the targets of the questions became different. I sort of pointed my eyes and pointed the questions at religion a little bit more, and other mechanisms of control, and that sort of became a theme of the album. The Subliminal Messages is the title track of the album, and that was about control and about gaslighting and about manipulation. That's a bit about it.
So starting to like the first song that I've chosen is let me see, God is a Tourist. How did you come up with that song?
You wrote that one, didn't you?
I did, yeah. It was I had a conversation with a friend, and it came about as a passing comment. Like my friend said, "Oh, God is a terrorist," and I thought, "Oh, that is an interesting statement. I wonder if we can write a song about that." And we did. It became God is a terrorist, and the whole point of the song, but one of the elements of the song is I'm not specifying which God, because there's thousands. And if anybody wants to assume that it's about their God, I would ask why. Why do you think this song that I've wrote is specifically about your God?
Yeah, man. There's not just Yahweh.
There's not just Yahweh or Zeus or Thor or all the other gods. So why are you taking offense at this particular song? Because you believe in your God, but you don't believe in the others, and you might be inclined to say that God is a terrorist. But yeah, it was about the hypocrisy, because I wanted to have that conversation with somebody. I wanted to be challenged and said, well, why are you singing the song? It's blasphemous. Why are you saying God is a terrorist? And again, the response would be, well, which God? Why do you think your God is? Why do you think I'm saying that your God is a terrorist? Let's have a conversation about that, and why you don't believe in all the other gods. And a lot of it was supposed to be an anthem, and it because it's got, as I said, the genesis of the album was about control and about freedoms and such. What you'll find on the track, that the first track of the album, Tradition, Authority, and Revelation, that's about the mechanisms of belief. And intentionally on that track and on God is a Terrorist, there's a lot of repetition. Throw your fist in the air, throw your fist in the air, throw your fist in the air, because God is a terrorist, God is a terrorist. because repetition is one of the easiest forms of mind control, of manipulation, of thoughts. You know, Charles Manson did it. Jim Jones did it with Jonestown. It's a mind cult, and ultimately all religion started as cult plus time equals
Yeah.
religion. So that's kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
the purpose of that song. It's not necessarily there to offend anybody, but it's there to provoke a thought. Well, there is all these gods. Why yours?
Yeah. Yeah. The next one is colorblind. To me, that's got a bit more of like an industrial goth style to it. Uh, could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, Colorblind was originally a candidate for the first album, and it was pretty much finished as it is on album number 2. But when we stacked it up next to the other songs that we had on the first album, I felt at the time that it was too similar to another song, which was Grey Matter, because I used a lot of reference in that song to color to help speak about different emotions and so on. So it was taken from that, and it was, this is great. It will definitely go on album number 2, and it's about being in a bad relationship with somebody who can't see how damaging that they are to themselves. They are literally colorblind to what they're doing, and it's very much like in Nothing. It's quite cathartic, and it's a moving on sort of song, but it's a bit more. It is a lot more bitter. It's not coming from the same sort of happy moving on. Oh, it's the right thing. It's more of a, yeah, well, you're lost. You're an asshole. And I think you're allowed
Yeah.
to do something like that. You're, because there should be emotion, and there
Yeah.
should be feelings in songs, and you are allowed to get angry, and it's a healthy way to do it in music. It's better than punching somebody or committing a crime or being a dick to people. That's what I was mentioning earlier about music. Um, I want people to get something from it, and if somebody else can get some Catholicism out of it, then great.
Yeah. Cool. Now this next song got my attention. Madonna Whore. What's that about?
There's a Freudian complex called the Madonna whore complex, and
Yeah.
what this complex is essentially is where somebody loves their partner immensely, unfathomably, but they love them so much that they cannot do anything that would even touch upon being intimate with them. They cannot be intimate with them in the way that they might want to. They couldn't even think about doing it. So that's the Madonna. But this particular complex, even though this person loves their partner and would die for them, would do anything for them, this condition sets them out to seek the whore, which is somebody who they can have that intimacy with, even though
Yeah.
they love the partner. So the song was sort of exploring that theme, and it is kind of a love song. The chorus, the line is "You're no Madonna whore," so it's to somebody who you can do the intimate things with, you can love fully, and you wouldn't do that to. But the Madonna whole thing, it's worth looking into because it's a very interesting study, and that in part is what elements of that song is about. And that song has been quite well received. I didn't think
Yeah, we played that one
anybody would
live a
like
few
it.
times, and it went down well live.
Yeah. Cool.
You out, and I know a few other people who've heard the second album. That one sticks out for them. So again, I don't want to pick apart every lyric and every meaning of the song. So I want people to find
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bits in it as well. But just like Porno Baby, that's supposed to be the sexy song on the album. You
yeah,
gotta have a sexy song on every album.
yeah. So the next one is the title track. What is the thinking behind the song Subliminal Messages?
As I touched on earlier, Subliminal Messages, the song is essentially about gaslighting. It does come from personal experience, being in a toxic relationship, and I don't like to use the term victim because I didn't feel that I was being victimized. I certainly rose above it, and didn't feel that I was a victim, but I wasn't. I did have experiences in a relationship where there certainly was gaslighting happened, and your significant other is saying horrible things to you, and then and blaming you for stuff that didn't happen, and essentially that song is about that element of almost doublespeak. We all know what the horrible things that happen with gaslighting are. And that's the whole subliminal messages thing, and the name the album is called Subliminal Messages. The song title is Subliminal Messages, but the lyrics are subliminal messages don't exist. Brackets. Kill yourself. And say, I love you, but fuck off and die. You're horrible. You're the worst person, but I love you. You know, I'm only angry and shout at you because I love you so much. Well, that's not healthy. So it does generally come from being in a shitty relationship and being the victim of or being on the receiving end of really toxic, unhealthy behavior, which is a long time in the past, but it's still there. And I treat it because it's relevant. And, you know, if it helps people recognize that they're in a bad relationship or in a bad place and that it is bad, then maybe it can help them move on and get out of that. Because it does happen to the best. It's happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to many other people as well. And like I mentioned earlier, you know, I think it's okay to sing about these things and talk about them and turn them into songs because it takes all the power away from that. It means if you can laugh about it or you can sing about it, then you can get over anything. You're indestructible. You're bulletproof.
Yeah, yeah. The next song is called Requiem. Now, this one is more for this song is like I think it's about over 8 minutes long on the second album, and it is also another instrumental. Who came up with the idea of doing another instrumental?
This one's down to Roy. This is Roy indulging his creative side and just putting out some really good music. We experimented with tagging it onto the end of Subliminal Messages, and we had a song that was nearly 18 minutes long. It was huge. And it didn't quite work how we wanted to, but the stuff in the song was so good. It's on there. It's Roy just being Roy and showing off. That is essentially it. Not as interesting a story for Redacted, I'm afraid, but that is it. Sometimes, a song is just a song.
Yeah, I was going to say off the second album, that's Requiem was probably one of my favourite songs of the second album. It's a bit like my favourite song off the first album is Suicide Rock and Roll. So yeah, the Requiem is like probably one of my favourite songs off the second one. So thank you, Rob, for creating something really nice. I really enjoyed that one.
I'm sure Roy will say something in the comments about that.
Yeah. So, Porno, the last song I've chosen of the album, of the second album, is Porno Baby 2.0.
Yeah.
Is that
Sorry, what were you going to say, Al?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Is it like a continuation on from the first from the song from the first album?
When we were recording the first album, I hadn't quite found my voice, and I think that's apparent when you jump from the first album to the second one. I definitely hear that I'm singing with a lot more confidence, and even live, the songs from the first album have a different sound live because I've found my voice. And Porno Baby straight away was one of the songs where it's performed live by me a little bit different than how we recorded it in the studio. So essentially, we went back and we took Porno Baby and we redid some of the vocals, how they're done live, and that sort of better reflects what the song actually will sound like if you come and see it live. And it's such a good song, we didn't want anybody to listen to the second album who might not have heard the first one to miss that. So we managed to sneak it in by redoing it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like I was going to say, it's like listening, especially to this last week when I've been like preparing for this interview. I've re-listened to like the first album and listening to the second album, and it's sort of like there is a slight change to the lyrics, how you performed it, how you sung the lyrics and stuff like that. It's yeah, it's slightly it's yeah, in a good way.
I definitely think like that there has to be something behind them. You've got to believe in them. You've got to want
Yeah,
you've got to want to to be in a band, um, and perform. And again, it's hard. It's hard to do anything. Hats off to anybody who does anything creative, because be it in a band or photography or filmmaking or whatever your creative outlet might be. It's so hard to get going. So you do have to want it.
yeah. Right, let's move on to the next part of the interview. So you mentioned earlier that you might be writing for a third album. Could you expand on that if there is like a third, if you're writing
Yeah,
for the third
oh,
album?
we've got five new ideas
Possibly more.
in the pipe.
Yeah. I mean, we've all heard at least 5 ideas. I mean, Roy's likely got many more.
Yeah,
ideas.
we've got 17 or 18 left over from the last album as well.
Yeah. When I said we've all heard them, I just meant I've heard them also.
So we I don't know if this is backwards but the way when we started writing music and how we've continued to do it is we've all done it remotely. So when me and Roy made the first album, I think we were only ever in the same room together on 3 occasions, and that was to record the vocals. Everything was done by emailing each other or sending messages or sending little videos or whatever. And so we managed to make the first album in 3 or 4 months, perhaps, by just doing bits on our own and sending them back and forth. And we've continued to work like that. So we never start a song in the rehearsal space and build it that way. We build it in the studio, which is how the first album came apart. We came together. Sorry, we initially didn't have any intention of ever sort of playing it live, but we made it, and then I convinced Roy to get together, and we tried to jam as much of it as we could, and we could, and the rest is history. But yeah, album 3, we're always writing stuff. If we've got ideas, we don't necessarily wait until time X or Y. But yeah, album 3, even before album 2 is out, is already underway.
Yeah, Roy said, yeah, let me see, where is it? That one there is, there are 15, there's 15 more for you to listen to so far. There will be more.
Excellent.
We've got plenty of work to do.
We have.
and he goes on to say, "I like to write a lot of music and pick the best."
It's no secret. Roy is the genius musically in the band.
Roy should have been on the interview.
We
should have been
we Ian, now that he's joined, and me in the past, we have elements of our music are in there, but you know, to all credit where credit is due, most of the music with direction is Roy, because he's a fucking legend.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so with the let's get back to the second album. You were going to release it. I think it was
I wanted to
last
release
month.
it last week.
Yeah,
The Ukraine happened, and
Yeah.
it just didn't fit right with me to go give this music some attention, please, when people practically next door to us in Europe are fighting for their very survival in the streets. So it's ready, it's out there. We just haven't put the link up yet. It will go up as soon as it feels right. Ideally, hopefully, I'll have it out before our next gig, which is the 18th of March at Trillions for Metal to the Masses. Please come and see us; it'll be awesome. So yeah, it's ready. We're just going to put it out when the time is right. But a lot of either live versions or clips or even a few full songs are already out there in the wild on our different social media, so you can listen to a good portion of the album anyway and get a feel for it.
Yeah. So going on to sort of like gigs, you got like you just mentioned there. On the March 18th, you got Metal to the Masses at Trillions. I know you going to be playing with Fallen Fields. I think it's like the round about the end of April.
July.
End of April. Or July.
Pretty sure it's July 6th. And then we've got another one a month or two after in Hull as well. Everything else that we've got on the pipe, unfortunately, I can't announce yet. But we're always looking for gigs. We're always happy to play, no matter how big or how small. And we have the same philosophy where it doesn't matter how big or small the audience is. Everyone's here to see music. We always put some serious effort into it. I don't think you can do the sort of music that we do without putting some effort in. I imagine you've seen the videos of us online as well, live. They speak for themselves. So.
So
Next week, 18th, and then the ones in Hull, and then everything else is to be announced.
Yeah, so check out Playdead on their social media when everything's been announced, type of thing. Yeah, so when you release the second album fully, and would you do like a sort of like a tour to actually fully explore the album on a tour, like full blown tour type thing?
I mean, we would love to.
Yeah, that would be the dream.
That's not really up to us, but I mean, we would love to tour.
Yeah,
that's the dream, man.
So, what before this is my part to say that if you want to ask any more questions for the band, just type in the chat and I will ask them. Social media sites, where can people find you?
I think we just Playdead on Facebook. You will find us on Instagram. Playdead UK. You'll find us. We understand that there are other artists or entities called Playdead. So we are kind of in the middle of a bit of a rebrand. So you might notice it says Play/Dead. This is what it'll change into to make us easier to find online. So if you do struggle to find us, if you want to listen to our music, it's on all of the streaming sites. But again, unfortunately, it is buried underneath all the other Playdeads. So just search for I'm telling people how to find the album now, which isn't out. If you search for Playdead and then the album name,
Play/Dead.
Or Playdead if it's the first album. You will find us. But yeah, we're always happy to have new likes and follows on our social medias. We try and keep things interesting and post new stuff. But yeah, please do get a follow.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, go check them out on their social media sites, and I think I posted your Facebook link into the description. I think it's there. So yeah, this is probably going to be my last question. Any advice for people who want to become musicians?
You have to have a thick skin, I suppose, because you're going to deal with a lot of bullshit. You can't be getting upset if people say you were shit. I mean, you've just got to ultimately, you're doing it for you. You're doing it to make yourself feel good. You're doing it just for the fun. So that's the advice: just have a thick skin.
I would agree. Don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Music is subjective. People are allowed to not like it, and that opinion is theirs, and it's right. And if they think it's shit, then that is their opinion. My other one, and this would be for anything creative. Don't run before you can walk. Buying the best gear, the most expensive instrument, if you want to be a musician, or buying the most expensive laptop if you want to be a writer, or the most expensive camera if you want to get into photography, doesn't automatically make you good at that one thing. Learn the basics, outgrow what you've already got, and then get the expensive good stuff. Start small.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Roy said, and it's a good thing, practice.
Yes, that's sound advice from Roy.
Yeah. When we practice
Tomorrow, 1 o'clock, usual time.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that might be about it from us. So thank you so much for coming on and actually talking about the two albums and everything else. And thank you so much for coming on.
No problem.
It's been a genuine pleasure. I hope you'll have us back another time.
Oh, good, yes. Once you get like the third album sorted out and all the things that you need to do for the third album, I'm more than happy to get you back on. More than happy.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you very much, Al.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute blast. Been an absolute pleasure.
Cool, man. Cheers.
Take care, mate. Thanks a lot.
You too.
Yeah, man.